Hi everyone, welcome back to today's video. For today, we're gonna make this cute little shaker card. I love this card. This was definitely inspired by the one of the samples in the holiday catalog, but I think they had it just as like a wall art piece. And it looks very similar to this. So I went ahead and made it into a little shaker card, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. So let's go ahead and jump into all of the supplies that we'll need. Let's start with ink. Why not? So we are going to be watercoloring some of the piece. So we're going to need a few different ink pads. We're going to need Soft Sky, as well as Real Red, Smoky Slate, and Garden Green, and our basic black ink to do all of our stamping, as well as Versamark because we are going to be embossing a little bit, and for that we're also going to use our white embossing powder. We're going to be using our foam strips because we are making this into a shaker card. We need our foam strips to be able to do that. We are going to be watercoloring, so I'm going to be using our aqua painters, but if you don't have the aqua painters, of course, just use whatever you have, whatever paintbrushes you have in a little bit of water. I have my bone folder out here for some reason. And then for this card, we're going to be spotlighting the Mountain Adventure stamp set. So that's how we're going to create this, create our little cards, our little scene on our card. So I love this stamp set. It's super cute. And there's some adorable things that they've done with this in the holiday catalog. So I would definitely check that out. And then for our paper, we don't need a ton of things. We're going to be using Whisper White, and we need a piece that is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then you just need a scrap piece of Whisper White. The size of your scrap is really going to depend on how you want your shaker card to happen, or to turn out, because we're going to be using this for our little shaker bits. So it's really going to be up to you on how much or how big of a scrap you'll need of that. You're also going to need a piece of watercolor paper that is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. So the two pieces are exactly the same size, as well as a piece of window sheet that is cut at the exact same size as well, 4 inches by 5 1/4. So it makes this card really easy because all of the dimensions are exactly the same. And then we're going to be using a piece of Dapper Denim for our card base, which is cut at 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so we're going to start by doing all of our designing on our main piece of our card. So the first thing that we're going to do is take our basic black ink and do all of our outlines essentially for our card. So I found that the best thing to do first is to stamp our sentiment. So these are actually two separate stamps. And it says, "Oh, the weather outside is frightful." And then it also has the word "wonderful" right after it. And that's because there's also this cute little X or cross out that goes over the word "frightful" so that it just says "wonderful." So it's pretty cute. We'll save that for the end. But we will be doing that. So, oops, I just got ink on my finger. So I'm going to take this. Now when you do this, we're going to be stamping it up in the left-hand corner, but because it's a shaker card, you want to keep in mind that we're going to have this little border here. So you don't want to stamp it right up next to the top. I would just bring it down and over to the right just a little bit. And it doesn't, I mean, you're not going to hurt anything. It's going to be just fine no matter where you put it. So I'm just going to put it right there. You know what? I didn't stamp that very well. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm actually going to grab my mouse pad because we are stamping on watercolor paper. It's got a little bit more texture and tooth to it. And I'm sorry if you guys can, sorry if you guys can see my head. I just want to make sure that I'm putting this right where I want it and applying even pressure. The mouse pad, or if you have the piercing mat, really does help to make sure that it's you get a nice crisp clean image. So we have that. Now we're going to take two of the other stamps from the set, and we have this mountain stamp, and then there's this one that's just like a line, and that's what's going to create our mountain background. So I mounted these up already. You can do them one at a time. It's really up to you, and it's really actually up to you how you want to do it. This is just kind of the look that I like. I did, maybe an inch and a half, maybe an inch and a quarter from the lowest point of the mountain to where the line is at the bottom. Whoa, now I'm throwing things around. Oh, I just dented my piece. Well, I'm gonna go with it. It's okay. But like I said, you can totally take this and do it however you want, and really personalize it to what you like, what kind of a look you want. So just want to make sure you really ink this bad boy up. Just like that. And then I'm going to put my mountain peak over towards the right hand side and just stamp it down. And you might hear some dogs because I shut them out of the room so that I could film. Perfect, just like that. Then we have this cute little gondola. Is that what those are called? I'm not really sure now that I say that. I don't actually know. But regardless, we have this cute little guy that we're going to add to give it a little bit more interest. So again, I'm just using basic black for all of these steps. And I'm just going to, so there's a little teeny tiny post on the very right hand side, and we're going to put that post, oh, I'm going to put it like almost directly below the peak. So again, sorry, I'm sure you guys can see my big noggin. And just stamp it down just like that. Perfect. Okay, so I think that is all the stamping that we're going to be doing right now. That's all the stamping with our basic black at least. So I'm going to take this and set it off to the side. Our basic black does need just a second to set. So I'm going to put this off to the side for just a minute so that that can seep into the paper and move on to the next portion. Just get some stuff ready. So you're going to bring in your piece of Whisper White, and this is going to be your scrap piece of Whisper White, and we're actually going to create the little shaker bits in our card. Now, if you have our fringe scissors, you could use that to do this, but I'm just going to use my regular scissors and just make some snow. So what I'm going to do is just cut strips on my piece of Whisper White, just like this. And you can do as many or as few as you want. It's really up to you. You can do them super teeny tiny. You can do them bigger like I'm doing mine. It's completely 100% up to you. So once you have this fringe, then what you do is you'll cut the opposite way and you'll end up creating these little tiny paper squares. And that's what we're going to use for our shaker bits in our card. So I've already created some just so that you guys didn't have to sit and watch me cut paper for 20 minutes. It doesn't take 20 minutes. I'm being a little dramatic. But yeah, so you'll use however many squares that you want. Again, you can make them whatever size you want. It's completely up to you. And that's why the size of the little scrap that you'll need is really going to depend on what you want to do. Because if you want, if you don't want a ton of snow or shaker bits in your card, then just don't do a lot. But if you do want quite a few, then you'll do a lot, obviously. I'm talking crazy now. Okay, anyways. I just wanted to get that out of the way. That's how we're going to do our shaker bits. And it gave us a little time to make sure that our watercolor piece is dry. So what I'm going to do now is the sky part. So everything above the mountain range, I'm going to use my soft sky and just do a nice little wash. Everything under my mountain range, or I guess I shouldn't say everything, this little section right here under my mountain range, I'm going to use smoky slate and do watercolor and smoky slate. And then down here where our little gondola is, our little this would kind of be like our snow area. I am going to take smoky slate and just really, really, really dilute it so that you can hardly even tell it's gray, and just do a simple wash there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and speed that up for you guys so you're not sitting here forever and this video doesn't take forever. And it's pretty basic watercoloring, so it's nothing too serious. So I'm going to do that and then I will be right back. Okay, so I'm done watercoloring for now. Actually, that's all the watercoloring that we're doing. I shouldn't say for now. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to set it off to the side just because there is a lot of water on it. I want to give it some time to dry. Now we are going to start working on our frame for our shaker card. So what we're going to do is take our piece of Whisper White here, and this is cut at 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And you want to keep that in mind because we're going to be using those dimensions to make our frame for our card. So what I find easiest to do, if you have the Stampin' trimmer, these squares, each of these squares represents 1/4 inch. So I find that it's really easy to use that. But nonetheless, it's going to be 1/4 inch regardless of how you do it. So I like to put my paper right at the edge, so we're at 4 inches right now, and then I'm going to move it in 1/4 inch. So I'm going to move it in just 1/4 inch, just like that. And then I'm going to take my blade and bring my blade down. And I'm not going to cut all the way through. I'm going to start my blade at 5 inches because we want 1/4 inch border. Hopefully that makes sense. So you're bringing the paper in 1/4 inch and you're starting the blade 1/4 inch down. And on the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, your little blade has an arrow, and the ruler, this part, or this plastic part has a ruler on it, so you can bring it down to 5 inches, come down, and then we're going to stop at 1/4 inch right there. So that creates our first line. Then we're going to turn it. Again, I'm going to line it up at 5 1/4 because that's where it's going to start, and I'm going to move it in 1/4 inch, so we're at 5 inches. And then it's actually pretty simple from here because you take your blade and you start it where your previous line was, and you just go back down to 1/4 inch. Now, if like this right here, I didn't get it all the way, so what I can do is just go in and take my scissors and just snip that little piece to cut it loose. And then if we need to adjust it later, we can. But I'm gonna again turn it again, and I just find it easier to start at the edge, so 4 inches, move it in, take my blade, start from where it previously was, come down to 1/4 inch, take it out, turn it, move it in, and then this is the easiest one because you have your line from where you start and you have your line from where you should stop. And then if you've done it correctly, this middle piece should just pop right out. So I did want to clean up this edge just a little bit, the one that I had to cut off. But it's easiest to do it once you're kind of done. So now we have our little, oops, sorry, I just hit my camera. Now we have our frame for our shaker, and things are falling off my desk. Okay, there we go. So now what I want to do is go ahead and attach our frame to our piece of window sheet. So I'm just going to fold this over. I like to use fast fuse because I find that that's what works the best for me. But you can do whatever you find works the best. I also like to have a scrap, and I thought I had, here we go. I like to use a scrap of some kind of thicker cardstock. We also have our adhesive mat. Stampin' Up! Has an adhesive mat that would actually work really well for this. But I'm basically just going to take my fast fuse and run it on the edges of this. And because the fast fuse is a little bit thicker than the frame that we've created, you're going to have a little bit of overhang. So I just pull it off and I push it down so that it's nice and pretty. And I'm just going to repeat that on all 4 sides. Okay, so now I have my frame all adhesived up. And then I'm just going to take it and as carefully and precisely as I possibly can adhere it to my window sheet. Now, I've made this card a couple times, and I have found that no matter what I do, I can never seem to get it on there just perfectly. Oh, actually, maybe that one was pretty good. That one was pretty good. I think there's a little bit of an edge. So you'll probably end up having to cut a little bit off, but that's totally fine. I did get a couple little pieces of adhesive on there, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. You can take an adhesive remover and try and get some of that stuff off if that happens to you. But I don't find that it's a huge deal. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. But there is our little frame with our acetate piece behind it, or our window sheet behind it. So we're almost ready to assemble everything. My watercolor piece is still a little bit wet, but I need to move on and start working on that again. So I'm going to hit it with my heat tool just to dry it completely, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I think it should be all nice and dry now. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to grab my Versamark ink, and I forgot to grab a piece of paper, and I don't want to use those because they have important information on them. Let me grab. I'm going to grab a piece of paper, just a piece of plain copy paper, because we're going to be doing some embossing. And I want to be as neat as possible. So this is actually a really fun part. I'm going to take this little snowflake image, and I'm just going to go kind of crazy putting snow everywhere on this little piece. Now, you don't have to do this part if you don't want to, if you feel like it's too much. Honestly, you don't really even see it unless you're like actually looking for it. It's pretty cool. It kind of just blends into the background, and it just gives it a nice little pop. So then I put my white embossing powder on, and then I just kind of let it run down just like that. And I think I did a pretty good job at covering everything I wanted to cover, so that was cool. Perfect. So I'm going to take all of this, put it back in. Whoops, I just made a big mess with some embossing powder. Let me close everything else up before I make an even bigger mess. See, this is why you should always have paper towels, baby wipes, all that kind of stuff in your craft room at all times. Okay, just gonna heat set this really fast. Okay, so we are almost done. The next thing that I'm gonna do is take my garden green ink, and I just took a couple of the little tiny trees that are in the stamp set and put them on a block. If you have specific areas that you know you want trees to go, I would suggest putting your trees down before you put the embossing powder down. But for me, I don't really particularly care, and I'm not going to do a ton of trees. I just want a couple just to give it a little bit more interest. Maybe I'll do like a half of one over there, and then I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to use this tiny tree. And fill in some space with the tiny tree. And I think that looks good. I think it's cute. You don't have to do too much, and that's kind of what you end up with. I mean, nature is completely random. Okay, one more thing before we put everything together. I showed you guys this little X earlier, so I'm going to take that and use my Real Red ink, and I'm going to ink it up. And then over the word frightful is where I'm going to stamp this. So I'm just going to kind of turn it until I like the position of it, and that's that. It just makes the card a little cutesy. Okie dokie. Now to start putting everything together. So I found that it's easiest to do this if you put the base, put the watercolor piece down on our base first, because that kind of anchors it. It gives us a place to go. Actually, what am I talking about? I'm crazy. Don't listen to me. Oh no, I am right. I am right. Oh, I'm thinking about too many things at once. So I'm going to use, sorry guys, I'm going to use my fast fuse, and I'm going to put down our watercolor piece. I'm using Fast Fuse and putting it on all 4 sides just because it is watercolor paper. We did add quite a bit of water to it, so I want to make sure that it sticks down really, really well. And I'm just going to center it as best as possible, just like so. Then I'm going to grab our adhesive strips, which, where did I put them? Where are you? There they are. Whoa, 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 things are falling. Okay. I'm going to grab my adhesive strips, pull them out, and I'm going to line all 4 sides of this piece that we've already adhered down. I swear, guys, I know what I'm doing. I do remove the backing paper before I start to put it down just because I find it's a little bit easier to get everything to go on nice and smoothly. That's just the experience that I have had. And I'm actually going to cut this so we have nice crisp edges. You just want to make sure that you butt up the edges right next to each other so that nothing has the chance to escape. Like that. Snip off that little piece. I'm going to put that back onto my backing sheet. Maybe if it'll not stick to my finger, that would be good. Pull off another strip, remove the backing, and do the last 2 sides. And there's no science behind this, guys. This isn't going to, it's not going to be 100% perfect. Not every single edge is going to completely 100% match, but that's kind of, it's the idea. That's the beauty of a handmade creation, a handmade card. It's always going to be different. It's always going to be something new, and it's going to be awesome. Okay, and then let me just finish this one right there. Perfect. So now I forgot to grab my embossing buddy, but I'm going to grab my embossing buddy and a clean paintbrush. That one's not clean. This one is. Stamp down so that I get some of the powder on my work surface. You can do this whichever way you want to do it, but I run my paintbrush with my embossing buddy powder along the edges just to prevent the shaker bits from sticking to the inside as much as possible. I feel like it's going to happen no matter what you do, but this helps prevent that as much as you can. And I'll clean that up in a little bit. Now I'm going to take my little shaker bits and I'm just going to dump them into the middle. I actually don't think I need everything that I kind of created, so I'm going to dump them into the middle, just like that. And then we're going to take our frame that we just made and center it up as best as possible down on your foam strips. And then before you do anything, I like to take my finger and just run it around all of the edges a couple times, pressing down as hard as you can. Well, not as hard as you can, but just really make sure that you have everything secure before you start shaking around those little paper bits. And some of them might be a little stuck, so you have to kind of work them out. There we go. Perfect. And that's it, guys. Now we have our little shaker card. It's super fun, super cute. I absolutely love this. I cannot get enough of it. So I hope you guys enjoy as well. If you have any questions on this or have any suggestions with this set or another set that you want to see, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm so close to 700 subscribers, and I think I might do a giveaway or something when we get to 700. So I actually have something really exciting coming up on Monday. I mentioned it a little bit in my last video. So I do have some exciting things coming up, but 700 is a big number, and I'm super excited. I'm so close. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you love this stamp set as much as I do and want to get a holiday catalog and you don't already have one, please go to my website, fill out the contact me form, and I'll get one sent out to you. And if you do already have your holiday catalog, don't forget to start buying all of the goods, all of the goodies you're going to need for all of your holiday card making, because the holidays are right around the corner, and it's going to be here before we know it. So I hope you guys enjoy. Enough of my blabbing and my rambling, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!